So back in 2023 in New York, a lawyer got in real trouble because he has written a so-called illegal brief, and he used Chat GPT for that. What's a legal brief? Well, he wanted to make a case, and he went into Chat GPT and he asked, what are some previous cases and how did the court decide? Apparently, that's a legal brief. I'm not such a legal expert here, but in any case, this was a pretty decent document, and he submitted that to the judge. And then the judge discovered that all of the examples, there were 6 of them, all of the examples of past cases did not exist. So ChatGPT hallucinated, fabricated everything. So all of the names, dates, all of the cases, everything, and it was basically totally created. The lawyer didn't know that, obviously not, and because he thought that ChatGPT, the AI system, is something like a super great search engine. So he thought that ChatGPT kind of searches the internet for past cases and puts it together, and then you've got this document as a nice summary. That's of course not what happened. Rather, ChatGPT fabricated, hallucinated those things. The lawyer got in trouble. Of course, he was fined. Of course, the damage to the reputation might be probably even more than just the fine. But in any case, what I want to do now is I want to use this example to answer a question from one of my viewers. I want to read this out to you. The question goes as follows: do you think AI hallucinations, for example, just like the fabricated legal brief, do you think AI hallucinations can be considered a form of bullshit? Okay, I need to explain this a little bit, what bullshit actually is because it's actually not a bad word anymore. It is a very commonly used term in the area of epistemology and philosophy. And I need to explain this a little bit, and then I'm going to show you, or not show you, I'm just going to think a little bit about this because I have to tell you, it depends however you see it. Okay, so let's do the following here. I've bought myself recently this nice little book here. On bullshit, Harry G. Frankfurt, he's a philosopher. It's a pretty thin book, really. Okay. And on the back, it's written here, bullshit is a greater enemy of the truth than lies are. It's kind of like a little bit the motto that he has here. Yeah, bullshit is a greater enemy of the truth than lies. So I need to explain a little bit what this is before we can explore the question of whether AI hallucinations are actually BS. Okay, so first of all, there are, according to him, now there are 3 categories. I mean, there are truths. We all know what truths are, right? And a statement can also be a lie. We also know that. But in both of these cases, when you say a truth or when you say a lie, you have to be aware of what the truth is. So if I lie to you, then I have to know the truth and I have to tell the opposite. So in order to deceive you. In any cases, both truth sayers and liars have to be aware of the truth. And a person who is BSing may or may not be aware of the truth. He just doesn't care. He just says anything to achieve another goal, like, for example, to appear smart, right? So if I'm asked a question, then I could say, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I could tell you the truth. Normally that's something I would do. I could deliberately lie to deceive you, or I could be worried, well, actually, I want to make a good impression. I do not want to appear unknowing, unintelligent, so I'm just going to say anything. I don't care what the truth is as long as I appear smart, or knowledgeable, right? And that's BSing. Right? Bullshitting. And the question is now the following, and this is where I think it's kind of interesting. Are these AI hallucinations when the ChatGPT or other AI systems, those so-called large language models, the LLMs as they're now called, when they basically say something, is this actually, which is not true, right? Could you actually consider this as bullshit, as BS? So some kind of a fabricated text output. Yeah, so some fabricated, is this BS? And I've been thinking about this a little bit, and then I realized the following. Well, according to truth and lies, you have to be aware of the truth, and a person who is BSing doesn't really care. He may be aware of the truth or may not be aware of the truth. It's simply not a category, And the question is now, are AI systems therefore aware of the truth? Okay, and if they are, do they actually care? Right, that's a little bit the question. And if an AI system now is programmed to output sentences based on certain mathematical principles, then I'm asking myself, does the concept of truth even apply? So that's a little bit the question. And what I probably the argument that I would make is maybe AI systems are the ultimate form of BS, because a computer does not know the difference between truths and falsehoods and things like this. It's completely oblivious. It's simply programmed to output text based on certain mathematical rules, right? So actually, strictly speaking, if you see it like that, an AI system is the ultimate BS machine, because the concept of truth doesn't even apply to it, because it does not have this awareness or self-awareness that's probably necessary to say the truth, to lie, or to BS. Yeah. So maybe you could make the case that whatever ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, all of these other large language models, whatever they're outputting, actually everything is BS, even if it's true, even if it's false, because they have no concept of truth, those machines. I'm just kind of wondering a little bit about that, and that's why I like this question. However, it goes on a little bit. There's another point I want to make. Yes, and when we say when a machine hallucinates, what we're doing is we're actually applying a very human term of hallucination, where basically I'm able to see and hear things that are not really there. Then basically we call this hallucination. The thing is that this term is also a very human concept, and I think that maybe this is simply also like a metaphor or analogy, really, an analogy of a human concept when we are applying the term hallucination to a machine, because a machine does not really perceive anything wrongly or so. It doesn't have this concept of a true external reality. It's just programmed to put sentences together. So we see what the thing that I consider fascinating here is that we're applying terms like hallucinating and BSing and saying the truth. The AI system says the truth. It is correct. It says the truth, or it outputs wrong information. It's false. Is it then lying? No, not really. So if an AI system outputs wrong info, you cannot really say it's lying either, right? It's because there is no concept of deception, because there is no motivation inside a machine to deceive you. At least not yet. Who knows where the systems are in a couple of years' time, right? But you see what I mean? Is what we're doing is we're applying human concepts to computers, and it's a very let me get the pronunciation correct, anthropocentric view of a machine. So we're trying to inject, so to say, human characteristics into a machine. That's how far we've actually already gotten, right? Beyond the Turing test, Alan Turing once proposed, that a machine is intelligent if you cannot distinguish anymore whether when we are talking to a machine or to a real human. When we cannot distinguish this anymore, then we can actually say that the machine is intelligent, right? And I consider even the concept of intelligence probably one of these terms that we're very human term that we're now injecting or transferring or into a machine. Well, just my thoughts on the whole issue here. As so often, we'll hand it back here on what the definition of words are. I would like to hear your views, okay? The point of this channel is also to have a little bit of a discussion, and there is the possibility to write comments below. And I would also like to learn a little bit, a few more things. So I'd like to hear your view on the situation. Have a nice day.